5 great underrated manga that you need to read. I will be numbering off 5 manga that I think are underrated and just deserve more recognition. The list doesn't matter too much, but basically 5th place will be the most known manga, and 1st place will be the least talked about manga. I'm not actually numbering them off of how good they are, just how popular they are. Also, these are not unknown manga. Like, if you read manga on a regular basis, then you will probably know 2 or 3 of these at least. But I'm mainly making this video because out of all these manga I'm talking about, only one has gotten an anime adaptation, with it not really being the best. All these works are just really good and just really underrated, and I think they just deserve to be talked about more. At 5th place, I have The Climber, and The Climber is one of the more popular shonen manga, but it's still very underrated and somehow has not even gotten a anime adaptation yet. And unless you're really into anime and manga, then you most likely don't even know about a lot of shonen manga out there other than the big main 3 being Berserk, Vinland Saga, or Vagabond. And of course, shonen has been the king of the medium for quite a while now, with the frontrunners being the big 3 and like Dragon Ball. Not to mention, when people first get into manga, they will most likely get into shonen just because it's more mainstream. But enough about that, let's get into The Climber. The Climber is about a boy named Mori, and who comes across climbing randomly one day and falls in love with it instantly. From then on, Mori decides to become a climber and dedicate his life to climbing the hardest mountain in the world. That's just a very basic rundown of The Climber, and before you don't give this manga a chance, just hear me out. I know the plot may sound very basic and uninteresting, but this manga is honestly life-changing. And I know it might be cheesy to say that, but out of all the manga or anime you've probably watched, I guarantee that this will be one of the most impactful reads that you have. After reading The Climber, I saw life and nature in a different light, and that might be because I have sat in my room like most of my life just playing video games, but until I read this manga, I never even really considered just how beautiful the world really is. Because I've been living in the same town for a majority of my life, so I just got used to my surroundings, and I would see videos and photos of people traveling the world and visiting all these cool, beautiful places. But I forgot that even a simple tree losing its leaves during the fall could be so beautiful. And I know it's not the same as going to Japan and seeing a sakura tree, or going to a big mountain and climbing it, or just seeing crazy new heights that you've never seen before, but this manga just changes the way you see things. The simplest and little things could still be beautiful in its own way. It's crazy how a manga could have that type of effect on a person, and that's why I love reading and watching anime and manga. As you see Mori change as a person and see him struggle through the journey of solitude, you feel like you also change and evolve as a person as well. It's kind of like Thorfinn from Vinland Saga. We see Thorfinn change drastically, with Thorfinn's journey being the main focal point of the story. And with The Climber, it's sort of the same thing, with Mori's journey being the main focus of the story of The Climber, with him not just reaching new heights and climbing, but just life in general. And before I move on to the next manga, there's one more thing I just want to add, and that's the style of The Climber with its cast. As with any story, there's a main cast, main female, like a protagonist, like maybe a sensei or a teacher, and just, we got the main supporting characters. But with The Climber, it's kind of just Mori. There are, of course, other characters, but the cast is always changing, and with each arc or time skip, there are plenty of times where a character will show up and just disappear for 80 chapters, which you might be thinking that's just poor writing, but it really just adds to the story because of Mori's solitude and just his growth as a person. Because of the style of The Climber, it feels very realistic and allows for you to really feel Mori's loneliness that he experiences throughout the story. Even if you're not into climbing, any person should check this manga out, because I truly do believe that it is life-changing, and you never know, maybe this manga will be a gateway for you to get into climbing, which could be one of your favorite hobbies, you just don't know about it yet. At 4th place, I have Goodnight, Punpun. Punpun is in the same boat as The Climber and being one of the more known shonen manga, but it by all means is not mainstream and is still very underrated. I bet majority of you watching this video right now don't even know about this manga's existence. A basic rundown of Goodnight Punpun is you follow the life of a boy who is shown as a bird and falls in love with a girl when he's in elementary school, and this love kind of is the main thing in the story and the driving force for Punpun to keep living. But basically, we just follow Punpun's horrible life and we see him as a kid to a young adult at the end of the story. So if you want depression, then this is the story for you. It's not on the same scale as depression you get after reading Berserk, but if you like sad stuff, then you should definitely read this manga. But in all seriousness, this manga will make you feel so many emotions, which when a story has the ability to make you cry, you angry, you happy, and just overall feel a stir of emotions, you know that story is special. Because let's be honest, not a ton of stories can make you feel certain emotions you never experienced before. Probably most, like 99% of stories can't make you feel that way. And for someone to make you experience that type of feeling through a piece of paper and just a drawing is just so powerful. And Goodnight Punpun very well has the ability to do that to you. And I myself am not a slice of life fan, which by the way, this manga is a slice of life. And in Goodnight Punpun, there's a lot of moments that I personally did not find interesting, but the highs of this manga alone makes it worth the read. The last arc is probably one of the best arcs I've read in manga, period, and one of the saddest things I've ever read, period, as well. And the first thing that you might notice about this manga is that the protagonist is a bird, as I said earlier. And even though he is a bird, no other characters react to him being different from them, because in other characters' eyes, he's just a regular human boy. But we see him as a bird, which we see Punpun change forms many times throughout the story, expressing his emotions through each hardship or experience that he's going through in his life, which these forms can go from a basic bird to a triangle to like a devil. We saw him as like a human like body, but with like just the bird head. But with each form, the author is expressing Punpun's feelings. Each form has a different personality even. It's kind of like how we see Kaneki in Tokyo Ghoul with him having different forms and each one kind of being a different person, from Black Reaper Kaneki to like Heise. The way that we see Punpun's feelings expressed through not words but these so-called forms and his actions is what makes the story so compelling. But before I do move on to the next manga, if you don't like to read sad stuff or just tragic things in general, then this manga is definitely not for you. This manga goes over some pretty horrible and hard topics to swallow sometimes. And yeah, it just blows you away sometimes with just how insane and crazy this manga can truly get. At third place, I have Fire Punch, which Fire Punch was made by the same author who made Chainsaw Man, which most of you have probably seen by now, as it's probably one of the most popular new gen out right now. This manga takes place during an ice age where humans struggle to survive and fear the death of hunger and just freezing to death. In this world, there are beings called Blessed. Blessed have special abilities. These abilities can range from fire, ice, lightning, regeneration, and some odd quirky ones here and there. But Agni, the protagonist of Fire Punch, is a regeneration type Blessed. So he chops off his arms and legs to feed his village to survive, and feeds his people. And Blessed are pretty much considered fuel in this world. Blessed are hunted down by people of Beningdorm, which is like the last city of humanity, and they use different types of Blessed as fuel depending on what Blessed they are. A regeneration Blessed would be used as firewood because they can chop off their legs and arms constantly, and they'll always have the fuel to light the fire. A lightning Blessed is used for electricity and to like get everything working in Beningdorm, and then like things like that, and etc. So one day when Agni was just living his average day in his average life, his village was attacked by a man at Beningdorm, and he only came out of it alive out of everyone in his village. And the reason he is on fire is because he and his village is burned to death by a man named Doma, who is a fire type Blessed. But Doma's flames don't go out. So with Agni being a regeneration type Blessed, he withstands the flames and uses it to his advantage, which then he's given the name Fire Punch because of the way he looks and just fire around his body. So you pretty much just see Agni's life play out in this Ice Age world, and also follow him on his revenge journey to kill Doma. Because of what he did to him, as well as burned down his village, this manga is crazy. I haven't seen Chainsaw Man yet. Yes, I know, I need to read it. But from what I'm assuming, the author likes to make crazy shit happen in his manga, because this manga has some crazy wild twists and turns, along with time skips. Like, this manga will have the weirdest time skips and at the most random times. This manga really dives into religion and like what religion can do to people, and how people can just be fooled or really just affected by religion and what it can do to society or just a big group of people. Also, the design of the protagonist, which is probably the first thing you notice in Fire Punch, with a big guy on fire on the cover, is sick. Like, every panel this dude is in is just amazing to look at. Like, every panel Agni is in, I'm always looking at him because his design is just so amazing. But overall, just a good short read. It's like 83 chapters, and if you're looking for a fast-paced apocalypse type manga, I would definitely check this out. Also, this manga is just mind-boggling at times and just destroys your brain in a good way. At second place, I have Ajin, Demi. This manga is the only manga on this list to have a anime adaptation, which I've never watched, by the way, but just look at the animation. I mean, never judge a book by its cover, but I just can't stand the animation. Like, it looks like they look like Roblox characters. But a basic plot rundown of Ajin, Demi is we follow a boy named Ki, which one day Ki is coming home from school and he gets hit by a semi-truck. He survives and just walks it off like it's nothing, which is when he finds out that he is a so-called demi-human, which is a species of human, kind of like a spin-off species of human, where people are immortal and have shadow-like figures that they can control to their own will. And there's only like 200 of them in the world, and they're all hunted down by the police because they are seen as a potential threat to humanity. There's like a whole investigation unit like the FBI pretty much for these demi-humans. So Ki is hunted down by the police, and a rebellion of demi-humans start when they find out about Ki. And I'm not gonna go any more into it because I would just be spoiling it, but because it's a war-type manga between humans and these so-called demi-humans, and this manga has such an underrated antagonist. I actually got into this manga because I saw a cool panel of the main antagonist and thought, why not check this out? But the antagonist is great. He's super fun, in my opinion, is what makes the manga like good. I think he's by far the best part of this manga and is the best character without any other competition. Of course, there are other good and enjoyable characters aside from the antagonist, but it's kind of like Bleach with Aizen, how Aizen is the best character in Bleach by far. Sorry, Ichigo fanboys, but it's just true. But yeah, the antagonist the whole time, he's just an absolute G to watch. Like, he's such an entertaining character. Also, there is just a lot of cool plot twists, not huge story-changing ones like we see in Attack on Titan, but subtle ones here and there that make the story just more enjoyable. Also, the power system is cool and like unique. Each demi-human has a black ghost, which is a shadow type looking figure that I'm referencing, and it may seem simple, but each ghost has their own ability and can even have their own personality. As seen with experienced black ghost users, the amount of things that it can make it do is crazy. The possibilities are endless. For example, like if you're so experienced, you can make your demi-human figure or your black ghost like another living person, and it will have its own personality, and then you can also evolve itself, kind of like Pokemon can kind of evolve its abilities when it can do. But overall, if you're looking for a just fun short read, then I would recommend checking out Ajin Demi-Human. The number one spot and the manga that I think is the most underrated out of all the manga that I mentioned on this list, I have A Chained Soldier. A Chained Soldier was made by the same author who made Akame ga Kill, and this manga is getting a anime adaptation actually pretty soon. Not sure the exact date. I'm pretty sure it comes out January, February-ish, 2024. But you can watch the trailer for that, as they've made 2 or 3 trailers now, I'm pretty sure. A basic rundown of A Chained Soldier is one day a boy named Yuki stumbles across a place called Mado. And Mado is a dimension where monsters live and pose a threat to humans. Humans can be transported to Mado at random times, and monsters from Mado can be transported to Earth at random times as well. Because of this, the Demon Defense Corps is formed, which their sole purpose is to get rid of these monsters and just protect humans. Also, this Defense Corps is only made up of women because there are these special fruits from Mado that give people special abilities, and these fruits are only compatible with women. Because of the balance between women and men are shifted, with women being more powerful and just getting royalty type treatment, with men just becoming less important in the world, but back to Yuki being in Mado. So Yuki is attacked but saved by the 7th Leader Unit Captain, which her ability is Slave, where she can turn any man into her slave that she rides on. Yes, this is a real ability. So when they get cornered and Uzun is forced to use Yuki as a slave, he becomes very compatible with her, and he decides to join the Anti-Demon Corps as a slave because he can't actually join the corps because he's a man. And he makes it his goal to help people and help Uzun to achieve her dream through the means of being a slave. There is a lot of fan service in this anime, and fan service can always ruin a good fight or just a serious moment, but with this anime, the fan service never gets in the way, and the author has created a system in which this manga for the fan service. So with some fighting anime, there are just random lewd moments thrown at you, and it can get in the way of a serious moment or a fight. But with this manga, every time Uzun uses her ability, she has to give a reward to Yuki, and no, the reward is not getting a lollipop or pat on the head. It's always perverted, and it always changes up each time because the harder Yuki works, the more intense the reward she has to give. I forgot to mention this is a harem manga, and there's tons of girls, which leads to more plot for you degenerate bastards. But aside from all the lewd moments in this anime, all the girls that go after Yuki are all lovable characters aside from their traits. And I'm actually curious to see who ends up with Yuki, with there being some pretty good front runners, which you're never actually interested in who ends up with who when you watch a harem anime, or at least I'm not. In this manga, the girls are actually lovable characters, unlike most harem manga. Also, most of them are badass with cool abilities. The abilities, or the fruits that I mentioned earlier, range from space control, cloning, wind control, using your arms as guns. There's plenty of more cool abilities, and they are all executed in a interesting way, and you can always get invested in a fight because it's actually enjoyable to read. So what isn't there to like about this manga? There's good fights, there's interesting plot, cool power system, and just overall lovable characters. An overall balanced story. Also, I don't see this manga stopping anytime soon. Unlike every other manga I have mentioned on this list, all of them are finished. The Climber, Punpun, Fire Punch, Ajin Demi, they all are finished, and they are pretty short reads. Like, they're all under 200 chapters that you can finish in probably like a weekend. But with this manga, it's at like 116 chapters. It's been running for like 2 or 3 years now. It's getting anime. I don't see this ending anytime soon. So if you're looking for just a new story to keep up with every week, then this is a story for you. I understand if you would like to read a finished manga, but even if you do not want to wait for this manga to come out weekly, I still recommend checking it out because it's a super fun read and it's super enjoyable. So that's my list of 5 underrated great manga that you need to read. And all of these manga are drastically different and great in their own ways. With every manga on this list being under 200 chapters, I'll throw up the amount of chapters in each manga on the screen, with 4 of the 5 being finished. You could probably bang these manga out in a week or like a weekend if you really put your mind to it. So if you were that bored or just determined to, read it. Even The Climber, which is the longest manga on this list, which has 170 chapters, goes by pretty quick, especially since every manga on this list is really enjoyable and just flies by really quick. So what are you doing? Go check out these manga. They definitely deserve more recognition. If you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate if you checked out my channel. I make manga and anime related content just like the video you're watching right now. Well, anyhow, peace.